Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. My computer decided to update itself a couple hours ago, and I'm just seeing all kinds of different things on my computer. So it's always fun. Okay. All right. Let's get started here. We've got a group here. Welcome everyone to the March meeting of the acquisition SIG for koha-US. Hope everybody's doing great. It's spring break here in Texas for a lot of our schools. So traffic is great. It's really light traffic right now. Love it. But it's a little busier on the second floor where all the kids stuff is going on. So, okay. So to get started, I thought I'd just share a little bit of what is happening with the Acquisitions 2.0 planning group. They're focusing right now on the vendor section of acquisitions and updating that part of it. That's what they would like to get in, not the next release, but the one following it. And they'll, the 2.0 will kind of be added in parts and segments. So the first segment would be the vendors. And it's been a while since I looked at what was going to happen, but it would just be a little bit more robust and be able to be used by ERM and what's the other one? Serials. All the vendors would all be used by all of those three modules. We've been looking at thanks to everybody that sent me a use cases for creating charging against a fund, but not ending up with, you don't want a bib record to go with it. So that was helpful for the team to see, all the different use cases. So that's one thing that we're looking at. And I think I've mentioned this before, but they're looking at adding the functionality where you'd be able to receive something without an invoice and invoice something without receiving it. And so between those two things, there would be a way to get things into, charged against the system without actually creating a bib record for it. And then of course, the current workflow where, you invoice it and receive it kind of all at the same time. So that's one of the bigger changes that they're looking at. So that won't be available for a while yet, but that's kind of the direction that we're heading. Anybody have any questions, things they're curious about?
Rhonda, I was going to ask, I know a lot of us that are using the EDI importing of records, we want the option to not bring in a full record. And I think I mentioned it at that meeting with them, but it wasn't on their list. And I know that other ILS systems have that capability. Do you know if that's being looked at?
Okay, clarify that a little more for me, just so I understand what you're talking about.
So, and I know Brodart's contacted me recently, so now I have to look back at my the bug that I put in. So when you bring in records, I think the word's append. So append, instead of bringing in a full record, a bib record, if we already have a full record, it's supposed to not overlay it it's just supposed to append like the item record.
Okay,
And what's happened, I know Brodart contacted me a few weeks ago, is they're bringing on people, other accounts, and we don't want to have to pay for a full record from our vendors if we already have one.
sure.
And I think it's 31092. That's the bug.
Okay,
And again, I mentioned it at that meeting. I think there was with the Europe people, right?
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And then he said, oh, that's not on our list, but I think he noted it. But it would be helpful. I think, I know we work with Brodart now. We used to work with Baker and Taylor, but I think with all vendors, because right now we have to set up separate accounts. So we have like added record accounts. So it's double the accounts on everything that we have with Brodart, which is a pain for them and a pain for us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I don't remember this ever being mentioned. But with this bug number, I can definitely bring it to their attention and see what they say.
Thank you.
Yep. And John, I thought I saw that your mic went off for a sec.
Yeah, this might just be my ignorance here, but I was wondering if there was any discussion of a way to auto-populate the settings where you can choose either individuals or probably more relevant, managing libraries for baskets. I know baskets might be changing too, but
Yeah.
one thing we like to do is the other library we're with, I like to switch it so that we have a library or the other take control of that basket so that the other library does not see it in their list. One thing that when that doesn't happen is you end up with separate vendors for this, you have one copy of the vendor for each library, and then that gets kind of cluttered. So I was just curious if that had been discussed or maybe if it could be asked.
Yeah. Has not been discussed that I'm aware of. All right, so you basically, just so that I make sure I understand, you've got different libraries and you would like to be able to auto-populate with the settings for a basket, depending on which library you selected. Is that?
Yeah, so I could see a couple different ways that they could maybe do it, but for example, when I have a Midwest order, I place the order, bring in the MARC records to the basket from the staged file, and then I have to manually go in and set the managing library to be my library. Or with Gobi, it just comes in through an API, but then there's no way to manually do that, so it's another step I have to do. I was just wondering if that was at all possible. It might be overly difficult. It's not a super onerous thing, but since we're talking about it, I thought I'd ask.
Okay, yeah. So you want, when you're uploading and receiving the record or the file,
Creating the basket
yeah,
or the
creating.
order. Yeah.
Okay.
The reason for this is because we are two libraries, but we're also two different academic institutions with separate business departments and all that. So we're sharing one installation of Koha, but we're actually separate legal entities. So we want to keep our stuff as separate as possible.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can bring that to their attention. Do you have a bug with that one or not?
I don't know that I don't think so. Let me go
Okay.
check and see if anyone's done it.
Okay.
So John, I'm trying to figure out, because we have two separate institutions, two separate accounting systems, basically two separate cities that are, we're both using Koha, but everything is separate. And so how are you, I'm confused about what you want to do.
I'll put a picture in chat that might make it more. Basically, here's a screenshot from one of my baskets. Set that those values when creating an order. So it could just automatically, either based on your user or based on like the first item location or something like that, set in like the managing library to be something like that. You might have the separate branches option checked in your library. We do not. So I know there's a setting that changes the way Koha behaves. And we don't need to spend a ton of time on this. I was just
Oh, I see.
wanted to ask.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's interesting. We don't use that at our in our library system. If anything, we have it all limited by permissions. If you have permissions to access a certain module, then you can do like say create a basket or work in cataloging or stuff like that. But that's maybe I should look into this one just to see if we need it.
Yeah, there are permissions to restrict it so that only people who have either a super librarian or the assigned library or the assigned user can get into it. But the other issue is because we're two small libraries, we all operate at fairly high levels of permission. So it's really hard to keep things separate then.
And so to clarify, I'm sorry, John, I saw that. So what is it that you're trying to restrict or access?
Basically, this is we have the users that we operate under have restricted permissions so that we cannot see baskets that are not owned by our library. But it's a step to automatically set that. So, or to manually set that. I was just asking if it was possible to. All baskets created by John are going to be from John's library or managed by John's library, that kind of thing.
So you don't want people to be able to see your baskets?
What I would like is for people who are not in my library to see my basket, yes. So people from my library can see it, people from the other library can't. Just to avoid issues where somebody goes into the wrong one. We've had that before when we were on Voyager. Somebody goes in and receives somebody else's same copy of the same thing. Just keeping things as separate as possible.
Okay. So you would like it, so like if you're logged in and you're working, would it be possible to automatically set the managing library to your library? Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, like a default value or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I can ask
And there
that.
is not a bug, but I could try putting one up there maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, that always helps. You know, if you can put a good description in there, you know, about what you want, then other libraries might be like, yes, we want that too. And then get some momentum going.
John, if anything, of what we use for ours, we don't really. We have a limited number of people who have access to those modules, but have you considered maybe your naming standards, like the basket of the name, like it would have like the branch code, for example, in it, or like the item type code? Because that's what we do. We put like SLO and then the item type and then whatever information about like what we need to the basket to say.
Yeah, that would be one way. That's kind of we've kind of accomplished the same thing by having in some cases separate vendors where possible. So anyway, yeah, that is a thing that could happen for sure.
Yeah.
And one extra thing, John, I kind of learned this, I don't know, maybe it was a few years ago. Again, since we're sharing Koha, and I'm acquisition. So what I did is, as far as, and we had that problem that somebody else, the other library was utilizing our funds. Of course, it wasn't on purpose, but, so what I did is I for each fund, I'm now the owner of each fund, and they can't, I don't even think they could see our funds anymore. So it restricts them from accessing our funds and acquisitions, thereby receiving.
Yeah, we do that already. It's just, this would be like one step beyond that, I guess. Anyway, I feel like this has already taken up too much time. Sorry.
That's all right. All right. Okay, so what I was thinking we could do, just to give everybody a chance to kind of introduce themselves and share. I thought we would say, you know, I'm making a bold assumption that most people are on 24/11 at this point. I don't know if that's an incorrect assumption, but if you can say, you know, like who you are and all that, and then maybe one thing with the new release that you found helpful or made your job easier or made somebody in your library's job easier, just to highlight some of the different features in case people aren't aware of some of this stuff. Because sometimes, you know, if you're Bywater, if you watch the what's new stuff, they only have time to highlight certain things. And sometimes little things creep in that are helpful and maybe you aren't aware of it. I know I've discovered things 2 releases later that were like, wow, if only I had known this. So I think I will start, and I was so busy thinking about the question, I forgot to come up with my answer. Okay. So Rhonda Kuiper, work at the Round Rock Public Library. I'm the manager of collection development and technical services. And for 24/11, I think the my brain just went blank. I can't remember anything that's on the new release. So I'm going to say, well, the burning question I have actually is, I'll ask this later, because it might take too much time. I want to get through these people. So I will just pick somebody, and then that person can pick the next person until we get all 14 people identified. And then I am going to go to, who shall I pick on? Kristi.
Hi, I'm Kristi. I'm at the Monterey Public Library in California. And I have to say, with 24/11, I've been seeing some tickets floating around. So as far as a positive thing right now, I think I'm trying to work out the big kinks in order to do my job. So I'm kind of deep in the waters in that. But once I emerge, or once you guys point some things out, I'll be happy to support those. So thank you.
All right. Go ahead and pick somebody next, Kristi.
Jason.
Jason Robb. I'm the Seek and Find coordinator at the Southeast Kansas Library System. I'm with Christie. I've been trying to fix a lot of stuff with 24/11 that like I have a lot of custom code that broke. What I've been slogging through lately has been permissions, because apparently my permissions got a little wacky, and I've got like 200 or 300 staff members, so that's been fun slogging through it. But there were new permissions for purchase suggestions, so that's a positive. So there's like create, edit, delete now. So I've been able to go through and like tailor who can do what in the purchase suggestions, which is the only part of acquisitions we currently use. Oh, I have to pick somebody. Wally.
Hi, I'm Wally Deschamps. I'm from Prosper Community Library. My position is, y'all can hear me, right? Because I didn't test my mic. Okay. I'm the Technical Services Coordinator. Ditto pretty much what everybody else has said about just trying to catch things as they are different more than we're having issues. It's just making sure that the staff is not panicking over something that's different as opposed to it being something wrong. Other than that, from an acquisition standpoint, the main reason I'm coming to these meetings is because we're growing and we want to move in that direction. And so I'm trying to, before I jump in the deep end, try to at least wade in the kiddie pool with everybody and try to learn as much as I can terminology wise and everything. So that's basically where I am. Monique, would you like to go next?
Sure. Good morning. My name is Monique Mata, and I am the Adult Services Coordinator for the County of San Luis Obispo Libraries. And I think I came in right after you gave the brief for what you wanted us to each to do, but I'm assuming you wanted us to say something about the update. So far, it's been, I haven't encountered any issues on I mean, like someone said, I generally notice something's a little different as I'm doing it, but it hasn't affected my workflow in any real discernible way. However, my colleague Charlie is our technical services coordinator, and she might actually have more insight for you about how things are actually going. That's you, Charlie.
Hi, I'm Charlie Arthur. I'm also at SLO Technical Services Coordinator. I've just been, I just want to say, same as Jason and Christie and Wally, there have been some growing pains, getting a lot of 500 errors and still trying to figure out why that's happening. And but so far so good, you know. I like the new interface that we see with the acquisitions module, so I really like that. Everything's still working, so yay. And Barbara?
Hi, I'm Barbara Johnson at Bedford Public Library. My title is library manager, but it's basically technical services, system administration, and everything else behind the scenes. We were an early adopter, and a lot of bootstrap cleanup that we had to do. I'm also currently trying to get Metabase working, so I've been kind of doing a lot of that stuff. And I don't really remember features, but I have the release notes right here. So one that I kind of liked was in the item search. You can now configure which columns show. And so I don't use that as much as I really should, but when I do, it'd be like, well, there's a lot of columns and a lot of data and a lot of it that I don't care about. So now you can pull some out if you don't want to see them. So just a nice little upgrade on that.
You pick somebody.
Pick somebody. Debbie.
All right, I am Debbie Steers. I'm gonna pull my camera back. So I'm head of technical services and collection development for Washoe County in Reno. And I was talking with my team yesterday, and we kind of admitted we never read release notes ahead of time. And so we're kind of surprised by like, oh, well, that's something different. And you know, mostly things continue to function, and it's only if something seems broken that we actually go back to the release notes. Probably not the best way to take advantage of a new release, but so far things are working for us. My current project is that we have had EDI set up with Baker and Taylor and get everything shelf ready, and it's fabulous and smooth. And Baker and Taylor has so dropped the ball on getting us back ordered titles that we're shifting a lot of our orders to Ingram. And so setting up Ingram for EDI
Mm. Okay.
Oh, and I'll call on Chip.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Chip Halverson and work at the Westlake Porter Library near Cleveland as system administrator for the ILS. And I can't really think of anything in 2411 specifically to tout. It's gone pretty well for us, except for a few little JavaScript glitches. And yeah, that's about it. I'm still catching up. I was out on leave for most of January and February, so I'm behind and catching up as fast as I can. So anyhow, that's it. And next on my screen is John Vinke. So I hope I pronounced that right.
It's Vinke actually, but
Vinke. Okay.
everyone says Vinke. It's okay.
Okay.
So I'm John Vinke. I'm the Assistant Director for Library and Learning Services at Austin Presbyterian Theological Seminary, which is a mouthful. I basically do everything behind the scenes. So it's been really quiet for us. I think I've done everything that I normally do at least once, and nothing has broken, nothing has not worked. We had a few little visual artifacts with the JavaScript change, but that's been it. Everything's been fine for us. I guess I'll pick on, is Holly gone yet?
Nope.
I have not gone yet, so I will go ahead and go. Now you just jarred my brain. I'm like gonna have to pick someone, and I don't know who still hasn't gone yet. Anyway, my name is Holly McDougall, and I am here at the Round Rock Library with Rhonda. Hello, Rhonda. I don't have a favorite, update. I'm just glad it's working again, because every time we update, something goes awry with our EDI ordering, and many tickets later, we are back in business. So yay, back in business. So yeah, just glad it's working again. Let's see, has Marcy gone? Marcy? Okay, I'm gonna throw it to Marcy then.
Sorry. Hi, this is Marcy. I'm with the McKinney Public Library in Texas. And we just upgraded a couple of weeks ago, and we're still working out some of the kinks. But one of my favorite things that changed during the upgrade, and this is very small and it's not related to acquisitions, but if you're in the cataloging module and you're doing batch item changes, and you go and you view the status, you can now, there's now a link to go back and do the next batch item change. You don't have to go back into the menu, the cataloging menu, to get out of the admin menu and go back to cataloging. So yay for small things. Oh, I have to pick someone. Who hasn't gone, because I logged in late?
Yeah, so Kristi with a K, Steve, and Lorne.
Christie with a K, you're next.
Thanks. I'm Kristi. I am at the Cuyahoga County Public Library system in Northeast Ohio, right down the road from Chip. And I'm the ILS librarian. We are not on 2411 yet. We hope to be soon. But one of the we sponsored the specific permissions for purchase suggestions enhancement in the upcoming release. So I am really hoping to get more information about purchase suggestions from this group, who's using them and why, and all kinds of information in that regard. So I'll probably be bringing that up at the next few meetings. I totally forgot. Let's go, Lorne.
Okay. Oh. She put a thing in the chat. My mic is broken. That's what I thought. Okay, so I think that leaves Steve.
Hi. I was having trouble unmuting. On the Steve Kinsey, County of SLO Libraries, Audiovisual and Technologies Coordinator. And I don't really have anything to report. Charlie knows more than I do about what's going on. I haven't had any encounters with any problems.
I'm making him come to the meeting.
Yeah. We're glad to have you, Steve. We love to have people that maybe are tangentially related to acquisitions. So get some insight that way. Okay. So what a couple of things that popped through my head as people were going around is Wally is thinking about moving into acquisitions. And so I'm curious if there's anything specific that we can share with you that would be interesting, you know, something that you're curious about. We could either do a little bit, you know, we've got time today, you know, if it was a little question, or we could do kind of a general workflow kind of presentation like next month or something, you know, and what I would like about that is, you know, I could, if I read Holly, will take you through our workflow, and then everybody can share what they do differently than we do, because there's more than one thing, more than one way to do everything in Koha, which is great because you can adapt it to your workflow. Charlie, you look like you've got a ponderous question on your mind.
Just like a really quick question. Does this include the purchase suggestion, like how you have like that in your workflow as well? Or is this just mainly acquisitions, EDI ordering kind of stuff?
We could do it either way. You know, purchase suggestions do sort of, you know, flow into our acquisitions. It's kind of a different entry point, if you will, into it. But, and then, yeah, I forgot who was asking about, oh, Christie. Christie was asking about purchase suggestions in general, and we could do a full, you know, purchase suggestions session then to, you know, another month. Because there are a number of ways to handle the purchase suggestions based on, you know, size of your library, or even how many, you know, branches and things like that you have. So
as a first question, could I ask who on the call now is using purchase suggestions?
Okay.
Wally is, Barbara is anyone not using it?
We're thinking about it though.
Okay.
All right.
Kristi, when you say purchase suggestions, I mean, our purchase suggestion process is more of an application that the patrons can just basically say, it would be great. I would love to have, or for y'all to have this book. They can give us as much information, you know, book, author, ISBN, if they can, you know, if they know that information or anything like that. And then it just is sent in the form of an email to our purchasing coordinator, and then they make a decision based on, you know, how relevant it is, and, you know, they go through our procurement rules and decide whether to order it or not. So it's more of an application than it is a somebody puts a suggestion in and it automates into acquisitions in some sort of way.
Got it. So I guess my question is, who's using the purchase acquisitions process in Koha?
And Rhonda, are you still experiencing the slowdown based on the bulk of those that you've had?
Yeah.
Because that's our big reluctance. We get over 600 requests a month. And so I think, oh, we don't like a slowdown. It would drive us crazy to just sit there and watch it spin.
Yeah, there is a lag with, you know, even the initial bringing up of the purchase suggestion page, that always takes a while. And then once you make your decisions and click go, or, you know, whatever, it takes a while. You know, it can take a minute or two before that screen comes back. I've sort of developed a workflow where I grab the title of the next thing that I want to look at, so that by the time Koha is back and working, I've you know, been off deciding what, you know, whether or not I want to get that title, because otherwise I would go insane.
Yeah, this is Marcy at McKinney, and we use it as well. And in addition to what Rhonda does, I use a different browser and have it open in a different browser. And so while it's spinning, I'm over in the other browser in my vendor site, looking up the next title to see, can we get it? Do we want to get it? So it's annoying, but there are workarounds if you can use multiple browsers. And I think it does save time in not having, and it's more convenient for the patrons to make the suggestion.
And several years ago, there was the ability to set up a cron job that sort of auto archives older suggestions based on dates you want to give it. And I thought that was going to speed things up a lot. And it may have done a little, but I don't think it did much. And we get far fewer than either Round Rock or McKinney. So even with the small amount that we get, we do encounter the time lag.
How many would you say you get?
We probably get maximum 15 to 20 a month. We're a single library. We're in a, you know, under 50,000 population. So, you know, but even with that, every time I go in there, I'm like, oh, it's purchase suggestions, you know. I'm gonna be waiting.
Yeah, I had that same thought when they, you know, put in the ability to archive. I thought, oh, this will speed it up, definitely, but it didn't really make that much difference. Because I think it's still going through trying to figure out, is this archived or not, you know, still marching through every purchase suggestion. So, yeah.
Can I? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to interrupt in the middle. And can I clarify, everybody's using Aspen suggest a title, like nobody's using like a third party site or anything like that in order for patrons to send in their requests, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
everybody on Aspen. No. Okay.
So we have Aspen, but our purchase suggestion processing is done in Koha. So, you know, we have Aspen send the suggestions to Koha, and then we deal with them in Koha versus dealing with them in Aspen. I know that's a choice that you can make.
I wonder
that part of it.
Is anybody using the Aspen, and is that experiencing the same slow? I mean, I assume it does because Aspen just sits on top of Koha. But I would love to hear that somehow Aspen just fixes it.
Yeah.
I think I don't know, somebody can jump on me if I misunderstood this, but I think Aspen, it's like the patron facing side of thing, but still it's going to call on the ILS to do the management of the suggestion.
Yeah, I think that's right.
We have a rather interesting setup in that we use the Aspen Suggest a Title portal, but we don't have the suggest a title function turned on in Koha. So the portal it loads okay. We generally have about a couple of hundred of suggestions a month. Excuse me. And so we don't have like ultra high volume, but there are sometimes issues with viewing, like they turned off viewing so that you could only you couldn't upload large batches of titles to a worksheet, because we usually like to upload our stuff to a Microsoft Excel sheet because it's just easier to work with. But yeah, we have a little bit of I wonder if anyone else is doing that, or do you have both turned on, or is it one or the other?
That
Or
basically is the same thing that we do. Yeah, and
okay.
that's where I was saying it's more of a application, and that we would just kind of receive the information in the request and then manually, because again, like Barbara said, we get 15 to 20 a month at the most. And in fact, if I remember correctly, we even have it limited somewhere in that you can only make so many suggestions in a period of time.
Yeah,
So
same.
it's not just, you know, somebody doing their Amazon shopping through us. And so, yeah, ours, we use it in Aspen, but it's more treated more, it's not connected to the portal in Koha, because then we make the decisions and then basically just add it to our baskets, you know, if we decide we want it.
But then are you using Aspen to communicate back to the patron within their account what action you've taken?
Yes.
Yeah, it sends emails. You can write like boilerplate emails that go out in the case of according to the status that you sent that you set on each request. It
Using
works pretty
Aspen?
well. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what we do, the same thing, you know, because we basically want to tell them, oh, congratulations, you've made, you know, you've made our day, and we're ordering this book, and keep an eye out on your email so that you know when we place the order, because once it's done that, it's in our catalog and you can be the first to place a hold. You know, I mean, it's almost like it, you know, they won the Price is Right, you know, challenge or whatever.
Well, and now that I'm really thinking about it, I remember talking to Brian, I want to say Pickman, about that there might be lag in Koha specifically. No, I think in everything, but Cloudflare, like they're using Cloudflare now. I'm forgetting what it is. I think it has something to do with the DNS. And I have like limited knowledge in that area. So he said that if there is a lag, we should probably report to him, or like SLO should report to him so that he can find out why there's a lag in our software. But now I'm like forgetting if that's the only thing he said about Cloudflare, if that was, do you guys remember anything about, like, have you guys heard about Cloudflare?
Yeah, a little bit. They sent that, didn't they sent like an all partner email, at least about Aspen, I think.
We had a patron that couldn't load Lita, and they went all the way to the town manager because they could not load Lita. And I had everybody at Bywater scrambling last week before last. And I mean, literally we just talked about this. We just talked about it, and we're working on it, and we're doing this and doing this. And miraculously, it's improved quite a bit. But I think the cloud, what I got from a lot of this was that the Aspen Lita component was is a kind of a third party, but not a third party, and they were wanting to be very what's the word I'm looking for? Onerous of it, and not doing what Bywater and we needed, and Bywater, as well as the whole Cloudflare thing of bots and stuff making life miserable for everybody. And so they, instead of letting it be a back burner, I think Bywater is really putting a push to make some improvements, and this Cloudflare seems to, at least from my perspective, now that we've gotten some of the DNS stuff fixed because we had like a misspelling or a dot or something that was off, and it shut the whole thing down. And that's going between our town's IT people and Bywater. And so once we've gotten that, it's been much better.
I'm wondering if that's why we're having some issues with Lita right now. We're not on Lita officially, but we're testing it. And a lot of our staff have been reporting that it's been a little bit slow. So maybe I should reach out to Brian again. Thank you.
Can I ask a somewhat, well, it's urgent for me, and I know that I sent an email to the acquisitions group. So this bug that's occurring, the 39294, where there's like the sticky key. So if we're trying to bring in import full records and overlay the item record, Andrew said he was going to put a patch in this week, but I'm not sure that it's been done. So I have boxes stacked at my desk because I'm not putting out books to circulation because I feel like I can't bring in the full records. Has anyone found a workaround, or what are people doing for that?
Sorry, could you say the bug number again, please?
39294.
94, thank you.
So yeah, basically when I go to say like overlay the item record, it's not overlaying, and or at least it says it's not going to, because it defaults back to something else like add an item record. And but I need to overlay and bring in like the barcode of the item in order to put my books out. So I'm just wondering how everyone's doing that.
Kristi, this is Marcy, and we ran into the same thing. They are working on the bug, but I think it's still, I think they ran into some problems. But what we found, because I finally had my staff person that imports final bib records, and we also need to overlay those final item records with the barcode and all the things filled. We found that even though at the staged point, it indicated that it was not sticking to the parameters that she set, that when she actually did the import, it did what she had instructed it to do. So in other words, you set it to replace the item records if a bib is found. On the next screen, it says it's not going to do that. But then when you go ahead and do the final import, it actually does replace the item records. And I did confirm that with someone at Bywater that said, yeah, it's really just the display on the second page that makes it look like it's not going to do what you told it to do, but it actually does it as you set in the when you first set the import settings. Does that help?
Yeah, it does a bit. What makes me nervous, Marcy, is like if I'm importing 100 records or something like that, and I know we can't revert imports. And so then I'd have to go into each record, like if something was added, another item was added, and I didn't want it added, I'm going to be in for a lot of work. So I've been kind of hesitant, like, oh, do I want to push this button?
We went, I mean, once and like cut down or found a small file to bring in. And once she was comfortable with it, we have large files too, generally, and everything she brought in worked perfectly, except for one item, which was a cancellation, partial fulfillment. So I think that had issues that aren't related to that. So it is kind of scary to not have those settings confirmed on that second screen, but it's worked out for us.
Thanks, Marcy. And then do you have any idea? Andrew said this week they're putting in some patch upgrades. Have you heard about when that might be?
I haven't. Let me go take a look at my ticket and see if anyone has updated it. Give me just a second. No, I don't have a time frame for when. The last ticket that I had, here's what he said. okay, it was Lucas, and it said the bug fix is now signed off and it's awaiting QA. In my testing, you are correct. If you reapply the correct settings at the final step, the records will be staged with the settings that you chose. I don't know what he means about reapplying them. Our experience was we go in, we import it, we tell it to match the bib record, and if a match is found, to replace the item records, and that is what is happening.
Okay, and I'm wondering if he means the reapply, you know, on the second page, if you want to change those, what you did on the first
Yeah,
page.
if you want to
Yeah,
manually change them. I will have to ask my staff person that's bringing in the record to ask if she's trying to manually change those or if she just continues with the import. So I'll try to message her and pop back an answer if I can.
that would be helpful. Yeah, because that would
Okay.
make a big difference.
Yeah.
Because I've tried to do both. I've tried to reapply and it still reverts back. And so I'm not sure at which point, like you said, if you continue from the first page and keep going,
Yeah.
or do you have to change it on the second page and it'll work? So, okay, thank you.
If I don't find out from her before this meeting ends, I'll message the group.
Okay, thanks.
And John put in a comment, you know, to use marcedit to select a couple records for a test run if you wanted to try that, just for confidence, feeling comfortable with that. So.
And can I ask, I know that Marcy's on the line and I'm not sure if you were before, and I had mentioned the bug on overlaying records. And I think you guys are using BroadArt, Marcy. I mentioned that to Rhonda because that's been a big thing. Was that the 339? Which one was that I told you, Rhonda?
Yeah, it was, let me go back, 31092, is that right?
Yes. So Marcy, are you guys still hoping for a workaround on that about overlaying, instead of bringing in a complete record, just overlaying the item record?
Good morning. Let's do the daily brief.
Is that when you're adding copies to your existing bib?
Correct. So in other words, instead of overlaying what you've already done, you just want to
Yeah.
overlay the item record.
I don't run into that with BroadArt because we don't use them for added copies, but I'm able to make that work with Baker and Taylor and Ingram. So I'm not sure why it wouldn't work with BroadArt.
Well, we just have to create separate accounts so they're not bringing in a full bib record. And so-
Yes.
yeah, and so I think the ideal way to do that would be to bring in a record where it just looks at if it sees a full record, that it just appends the item record and overlays that instead of the whole bib record.
Without having to use separate accounts?
Correct. I think that's the goal.
We use separate accounts, so that's how we manage that situation.
Yeah, and I think they're trying to get away from that because it's more
Okay.
work on our part and more work on the vendor's part, because then you have double the accounts. So I just wanted to see where you were with that, but you sound like you're in the same place that we are right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's working, so if it ain't broke, I'm not probably gonna demand the fixing, so. Anyways,
Okay.
sorry, I'm not much help.
Okay, so I think what we'll do for next month is kind of a like main path workflow, I'll call it, you know. And then we, you know, I loved all the discussion today. This is great. So many times I felt like, oh, I gotta pull stuff out of these people. But this is great. So, you know, if we can do that, you know, just kind of talk through with screens of what we're doing, and then we can all learn stuff that way. I know we did that, I don't know, a year and a half or 2 years ago with the purchase suggestion workflow, and I learned a few things that I didn't know about. And it's helpful, and that's kind of what the whole community thing is about. And is there anything else? We're like 5 minutes from the top of the hour. So is there anything else that anybody had?
I do.
Okay.
Even though we get not that many purchase suggestions, my library director a couple weeks ago asked me if there was a way to limit purchase suggestions to like only the people that live in Bedford. And I looked around, I couldn't find anything that would limit to patron category or anything.
There
So I don't.
is. There is, because we do that.
So what do you need to set up for that?
Let me reach out to our systems team. I don't know if that's something that Bywater had to hard code in the background for us, or if there's an admin setting. But I will reach out to them
Yeah,
and then post to everyone.
yeah, we do that as well, Barbara, and it works great. And it's based on patron category, because we don't allow our paid memberships to do. We only do it for our tax base. And so I'll do like Marcy is and see if I can go back and figure out where that setting is.
And
that's become some of the issue, is that we're getting these wild suggestions from people that don't live in Bedford, and then we're having to take the time to say, you know, I'm really not going to do what you want. And
yeah. And along the same lines, interlibrary loan, we also only do those now for McKinney residents. Sherritt has not had the capability to do that until they are just now pushing out a development that will do it with INSIP. So I have a ticket open with Bywater to make sure INSIP is communicating our patron categories to them. But that's the dream, that we won't have to moderate those requests anymore. But definitely patron suggestions for purchase works as of today.
And I see that Jason put in the system preference there.
Oh,
so
good.
And we
then,
would probably have to redo some of our categories in order to make that work, but at least it's there.
And then Kristi, I got an answer from my cataloging tech, and she is not making any changes on the second staging page to the import preferences. She's just pretty much ignoring what that second page says and doing the import, and it's working.
Thank you so much, Marcy. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I do have one question. This isn't acquisitions related, so that's why I'm holding it way to the end. I have this memory of there being a update to the function of holds, where you could set hold max pickup time based on branches. Does anybody else have a memory of that, or was I having a dream of what I wanted to happen someday?
Sounds
There's
oddly.
a column in the circ find rules towards the very far right called hold pickup period day. I think that might be what you need.
Is that by library or is it by item type?
It's so you can do it by library, and then since it's a circ find rule, it's one of those rows in that big nasty table. So patron type, item type.
Okay. Oh, okay. So if I go, oh, okay. My system just took a nap there for a minute. So I'm in the circ and find rules, and then what do I do?
It's like all the way to the right on that big table of rules.
Okay.
There's rental discount, and then there's holds pickup period.
Okay. Yeah.
On the surface, that sounds like the thing you want. We're not using it, so I don't know how it works, but
Yeah, so, oh, I think I shot myself in the foot. Because I did one of those terrible clone things
Uh-oh.
a while back. And I may
I took that option away.
Yeah.
So I don't accidentally do it myself.
Yeah, I think that's what I did. I'm pretty sure. Oh, Jason, you get a gold star. Thank you.
Yay.
Yeah.
That's just par for the course for him, though. You know?
Yeah. Yes, I remember cloning something because our rules got out of sync between our hold lockers and our the regular library, and I think I cloned them right over. Oh yeah. Okay. All right. I'm not insane. It's a good day. Okay. There we go. I was starting to wonder about my sanity there for a minute. Okay. Okay, everybody. Have a great rest of your March, and we will see you in April on, oh, no, they changed the calendar function. Like I told some of you, there we go. Okay. I'm learning all the things that this update messed up. Oh, April 15th, all of our favorite days. We will be meeting on that wonderful day. It is wonderful for me. It's my daughter-in-law's birthday, so that's all wonderful, but it's also tax day. But we will meet next April 15. We will see you then, and we can keep talking through the listserv, the group emails and stuff like that. So we will see you all other meetings, or we'll see you next month.
Thanks, Rhonda. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.